And you are watching another edition of Blewetts Blotz, joined by co-founder, the always late Robby Sabo.
Yeah, baby.
What's going on, Robby?
Hey, you're gonna call me out for being late? How did the fans not know if you didn't call me out? Could have been your fault. We could have left it up for mystery in disguise. What's the deal?
That's why I talked about it right off the bat. But no, sorry for last week, everybody. For the people who were waiting. This week, obviously, we have Sabo, so we have plenty to discuss with OTAs, with the roster, plenty to jump into. The one thing I wish Nania was here for, and this is just because it's relevant. I'm sure you've talked about it. I've seen it some on Twitter. But the Knicks situation, again, I know you and Nania are completely on polar opposites of the fire Thibodeau thing. They get rid of him for some of the Knicks fans in here, and obviously you are quite against that, right?
Well, let me ask you, as a Nets fan, you think it's a dumb move, correct?
Yeah, but it's more like, yeah, I would say so. I don't really know who's available out there. Like, I'm not the biggest basketball fan in the world just because of what it's turned into, which I want to get into for just a minute as well. But yeah, I would say kind of bringing the team out of the doldrums to their first conference championship. And I don't know how long. It felt like probably it was the wrong move to do it. But again, I'm not a guy who's watching the Knicks daily.
Here's the fundamental thing I think everyone misses. Yeah, he's been the best coach. He built it. And he turned it around before Brunson got here. That's number one. He made the playoffs with guys like Julius Randle, who he developed. So many guys have had their best seasons under Thibodeau. It's ridiculous. Even depth guys like Isaiah Hartenstein off the bench, Miles McBride. But here's the fundamental issue. I think people who think it's a mistake and people who wanted it don't see eye to eye on. Mm-hmm. The roster's not as good as people think. It's not as good as people think. Brunson, what was Brunson before Thibodeau?
Well, that and his defense is a major problem too, right?
Brunson wasn't Brunson before Thibodeau. Mikal Bridges, your boy, Nets, solid, nice player. He's an example of a guy Thibodeau hasn't gotten the best out of yet. Solid, nice player, never an all-star. And why do we pretend he's better than he is? Never an all-star. We gave up 4 unprotected picks for him. Cat. Listen, again, he's got the name power, but I guarantee if you pull all 30 NBA coaches, who would you rather have on your team? All things being equal, salary, age, Cat or Siakam, more guys will take Pascal Siakam. I would bet my life on it.
Yeah.
If you put Brunson and Cat together, that is very difficult to overcome defensively. It's akin to Phil Jackson having to take Michael Jordan out and Scottie Pippen out in crunch time defensive situations. Mm-hmm. How do we not recognize that? And then we come into the season, before the season, everyone universally believes, yeah, man, the roster's thin. We got Cat, we got Mikal, we're going for offense, which, by the way, they were a top 5 offensive team this year. Thibodeau, that lousy coach, top 5 offensive team. But we're thin. Everyone recognized this. We're thin. We don't have many players. Mm-hmm. And that's all Thibodeau's fault because he doesn't play the guys. They're not as good as people think. And I think that's the fundamental issue, talent-wise.
Now I'm not that like argument I don't have too much stock into. Obviously, because I'm not a Knicks fan necessarily, but the one argument I do have stock into, and again, Nania's not here to defend himself, so feel free to dunk on him a little bit. But okay. Nania's take is basically that if you don't like the new NBA, you're just an old grumpy guy who's complaining about the past. So what is your take on that one?
Because I didn't hear him say that.
That is summing it up into probably too simple of a sentence or two. But it's basically, if you don't like the new NBA, it's just because you're old and grumpy and look at the scores that used to be 78 to 76. Wow, how exciting that was.
Is that the same for the NFL too?
For Nani, I have no idea. I personally like the old NFL, which there's a little bit more defense play. You can actually play corner.
Yeah, I like more physicality. Let's put it this way. There's a nice balance in the NBA in which, guess what's happening this postseason? It's funny. The Knicks went to an offensive team during the playoffs where Adam Silver is clearly letting them play more. Like, it is physical. They're allowing hand checking. They're allowing guys to hug each other. It's more physical than it ever has been. And guess what? The emotions ramp up. The rivalries ramp up. So can we find a happy medium, where the scoring isn't in the 70s, but it's a little more physical than, Charmin soft stuff.
Yeah, that it's that too. And it's not even like, oh, they don't score points. It's not the exciting part. It's like when you get more physical and stuff, I feel like there's actually some more intensity to the regular season games too. Like it's always amped up a little bit in the playoffs. But my problem is in the regular season, it's just like nobody even looks like they're trying at all. Like people don't jump for rebounds. Everybody's friends off the court, which is fine, like new social media age. But if you're to add some more physicality to it, I think you'd get more aggressive play, more actual like legitimate rivalries, which is fun to watch. Where right now, like it is what it is. I don't want to get into basketball for too much.
Well, it's the main thing where there's a problem. I don't care if you're 17 years old or 80. Some of these fouls where they're reviewing it to see if it's a flagrant foul, that's how you know there's an issue. I mean, some of these fouls are just cupcake fouls that are reviewing it. Come on. I know the Mouse and the Palace changed everything, but you gotta let off the gas. And I think Adam Silver's doing that. And it's the same with roughing the passer calls. I mean, I don't know how any fan could say that's a positive. Like it is, it's gone too far. I don't know how anyone could argue otherwise.
Or the fact that you have receivers who can just throw DBs off of the top of their stems and stuff like that, and then the receivers get called. And I know you did a Fields review, and I did a few reviews where I was obviously watching either the Steelers offense when I watched Fields, when I watched Stevens, when I watched the Jets versus Steelers. One of the most infuriating players of today's age who wouldn't be good, I don't think, a few years ago because DBs could actually touch them and they wouldn't get DPIs on him is George Pickens, dude. The amount that he gets away with he's pushing physical off of guys, and then when they grab him, it's infuriating to watch Pickens because, again, the way he takes advantage of today's rules, but brutal with the corners versus the receivers. But again, a story for, I guess, a different day. Obviously,
it's listen, it comes down to this. The league's greediness. They baseball too, home runs, juicing the ball up. If the league goes too greedy, they go too greedy when they're pushing all the rules towards the offense, towards more scoring. That's the key. That's the telltale sign. And if that's happening, you gotta push back. And if you don't push back, sports can get ruined. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, it's really just about how you do it, with the betting sites, with the overs, with the touchdowns scored, with fantasy football, there's money in scoring. So that's the problem. But nonetheless, obviously a lot going on. Aaron Glenn brought in, we're not going to go into like your opinion of Aaron Glenn and stuff. Maybe we will eventually. But we're going to kind of go through a lot of the roster because we haven't talked in a little bit. You've been at OTAs. You've watched some of these guys. I'm not sure how in depth you've gotten to all the free agents, but I can kind of fill some spots. So I know there's sometimes we ask questions like, I don't really know exactly how this guy can play. Maybe I'll tell you. Then you can.
I'll be asking you. Yeah, I'll be asking you.
So I guess we'll start off with Fields. We'll start off with relatively easy stuff. From what I've seen from you and other people at camp. He's not so impressive in terms of like the reads and stuff, but obviously it's early, adjusting to a new offense, adjusting to a new team, all of this stuff, but kind of all encapsulating thoughts on Fields this offseason, him as the Jets quarterback.
Yeah, it's like, to me, I don't really get caught up in is he improving in the the progression stuff, the traditional pocket passing stuff, especially right now in OTAs. But in general, I don't really get caught up in it because when I think of Fields, I think of Glenn, and I think of Glenn trying to hop on the evolution train, which is let's create an offense, akin to Philly with Hurts, Baltimore with Lamar, Washington, Jaden, and let's go that route. They voted against Tush Push for a reason. Let's not be idiots here. So there will come a point in time, especially August, when I kind of think about it and try to dig into it more. Is he improving in these certain areas? But not yet, because I think Glenn, there's a lot of, and this is a coach thing. A lot of coaches don't like quarterbacks running, taking off, because it's a wasted rep in practice. Yeah. Some coaches are cool with it. Glenn is beyond cool with it. And not only that, he encourages him to do it. He wants him to make the right move. And I'm cool with that too. You want to practice with intent in terms of how you want to play in the game. But that just is more evidence that he is going to be wanting Fields to run as much as possible.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of like motion, a lot of stuff in the backfield, a lot of confusion. Obviously RPOs, read options. I think you take advantage of Justin Fields, deep ball ability, get 10 to 15 concepts that he really likes, work off of those, because as you could have 10 concepts and you could fill a playbook of 400 plays with just 10 concepts, because you can run a concept 30
even more
ways.
so when the QB has legs.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like just little things for the run game, like, like, okay, it takes that extra guy to defend the run game because you have to, hold Fields in the backside and all that stuff. So it's going to be advantageous for the running backs and all of that. So we'll see what happens. I've kind of been on the train of like, not on the train, but it's kind of a fact that I don't think you try to make Justin Fields a perfect passer. I think if you can make Justin Fields an average passer with his legs, he's fine enough, So
if the coaching is legit, and Engstrand knows what he's doing. And listen, we know Glenn's philosophy. If he's not too stubborn, this is the big thing that could ruin it. Well, first of all, if Engstrand doesn't know what he's doing, that'll ruin it. But if Glenn is too stubborn to not let Engstrand operate enough, that could ruin it. But if the coaching is legit, Fields is going to have fun. He's going to have success. And if the O-line has a plan and a vision, if Hayden knows what he's doing, again, Fields could have a solid year.
Yeah. And now I guess we'll move on to, because really, I guess the quarterback position, the only other topic that's really kind of a question in camp is, do they even carry a 3? Is it Martinez? Is it that guy Cook? Have you seen anything from the lower end guys?
Yeah, Martinez actually might have had the QB play of the day this week. What was it, Tuesday when we were there? Teams, it wasn't 7-on-7. Very important distinction, because 7-on-7, it's so much easier to make a throw in the middle of the field. Martinez looking left the entire time, left. Pressure the pocket's there, but the pressure's starting to come down on him. And he turns to the backside dig in stride, perfect location, Xavier Gibson. So Martinez has been okay. I mean, he hasn't been great. Let's not go crazy. He's thrown some picks, some spotty stuff. Brady Cook, it's crazy with him. He's so inaccurate when a guy's on a move. He's so inaccurate when the guy is north and south. He throws.
So let's not hold him as a 3 at this point.
No, when the guy's stationary, he's actually really accurate. And people are going to be like, "Duh, stationary versus moving." But when the guy's stationary, he puts it in the right spot. Even like that's something I didn't expect. But when a guy is moving, especially vertically, he's better side to side. Vertically, he overshoots him every time.
Yeah. So we'll move on from the quarterbacks too, because like really should he even carry a 3? And realistically, whether it be Martinez or Cook, keep it on the practice squad. Like none of these guys are going to get scooped up. Most likely, so just keep on the practice squad. Not gonna be the biggest deal in the world. We have Dakota in here who's saying everybody on the Jets is basically elite. But the first player he asked about, or I believe is Christian. So we'll go to Christian with the question about Aryan Smith, and we'll transition to the receiver core. I personally would like the Jets to do a little bit more. If it were, if they had if they felt they had the free money, bring in a guy like Keenan Allen, bring in a guy like Cooper. I get the Jets are going to run heavier personnel, all that stuff. I would still be more comfortable with at least a decent receiver 2. I think the receiver after Garrett Wilson is probably going to be Josh Reynolds based on my film watching. But I think Reynolds on a good team is probably a decent 4 or a solid 4. On a bad team, I think he's an okay 3 if he's like he was with the Lions. I do think the Jets lack a true like number 2 receiver. But what are your thoughts on, I guess, the Jets overall receiver group? And then I guess get into Aryan Smith. I'll pull up some plays of Aryan Smith.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'd feel more comfortable too with a veteran, especially, when you think of Fields too, and Garrett as well. I mean, having a veteran guy next to Garrett can't hurt. So I'd feel more comfortable too. But again, this is the theme. This is the pattern. Glenn's philosophy, just being the overarching thing about every move they make. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that's bad. That's okay. I mean, and if he coach and his coaching staff is good, it's going to work. But receiver 2, unless they sign someone and surprise us, they're not going to have a receiver 2 all year. It is going to be every single body. Like the way I envision it is Reynolds and Lazard. Reynolds basically, but Lazard right behind him, starting, quote unquote, on the rushing downs because they're the best blockers. Tyler Johnson will go in there when you need a second route runner next to, opposite Garrett. And then Aryan Smith is going to be, unless he falls flat on his face, he's going to be used as a 3rd and long guy to take the top off. And, I know Jets fans weren't happy about Aryan Smith with the drops, and I get it. But that need was legit. Like, they really needed a vertical receiver. They have nobody, no burners. And I don't care if he can't catch it all. The free safety has to get that depth. The corners, if you're in a 3 shell, that you have to get that depth.
Yeah.
And, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, that's when Aryan Smith's going to come in, clear the top off, and there's more room for Garrett, Mason Taylor, and Breece underneath. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. It's like a, what's the fucking word? It's like a group receiver 2 with 5 or 6 guys. Where Corley fits is the question. I don't know.
Yeah, Corley fits. I know Gibson's been having a little bit better of a camp, but we heard that last year, and Gibson did 0. So is he the David Clowney of the offseason? Where he pops during camps with no pads on.
Clowney has a lot. I think Clowney has more talent than Gibson. Gibson's more of a hard worker. Hopefully, Aryan Smith can man down the jet motion responsibilities. That's what I think they got to hope.
Well, dude, and I brought it up too. Like after Aryan Smith was drafted, obviously, like I don't get 4 rounds deep into the draft. Obviously,
did you like Aryan Smith? I don't remember your reaction. Were you like,
yeah? So really, it's not going to say like, it's more understand. Like I watched him and I was like, oh, I understand the pick, because I said the same thing about the offense. They're not going to get like a true like. And Garrett Wilson's a 1, however you want to phrase that. I don't think Garrett Wilson's your best X in the world. To me, I'd rather have Garrett Wilson in the slot as a Z. One of the areas he struggles in is getting off of press coverage and getting vertical. So I'd rather have like a true X there. And I said it, like there's really no true X's available right now in free agency. So I think the thing that they're going to do is put a speedster there, or at least have a speedster and open up the offense. So then you go and watch Aryan Smith, and he's faster than his 4.36 speed. He is. I think he's a low 4.3 guy, high 4.2 guy. On film, he's elitely fast. I think the Stephen Hill comparisons are idiotic because he moves so much quicker than Stephen Hill ever could.
He's quick.
He gets he gets to his top speed a lot quicker than Stephen Hill. Stephen Hill ran like a giraffe. And he couldn't catch. But so Aryan Smith, like I understand in the 4th round, betting on a guy with elite speed is not a crazy pick. It's just not to me. And it fills a need for the offense. Obviously, I have Jamison Williams. We're not going to say he's going to be Jamison Williams, but there's a role for that on offense, that speed. So I understand it. No doubt. Again, Reynolds would probably be like my next guy leading in snaps. Lazard will be in there for blocking. Tyler Johnson, all right, whatever.
Yeah. Corley, I think Tyler's the guy who can get squeezed out easily.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I think it's him versus Gibson for kind of receiver 5 or 6 right there. And then Corley, he has to prove it when the pads are on. Now the thing is, how does Stone Smart fit in too? Because Stone Smart, I did that review. He is think of him. He's basically a big receiver. He is not a tight end. He's like in terms of like Y, H back, anything like that. He's not doing it.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm not too familiar with him yet. I didn't see your review on him. It'll be interesting. Like, are they forced to use Ruckert? And that's okay. Listen, Ruckert's blocking grade last year was absurd. It had more to do with the scheme and the offense as a whole, as opposed to Ruckert, I think. But he does have to pick it up.
Yeah, his problem is he whiffed a lot.
Is that what it was?
He whiffed all the time. He needs to he needs to break down the contact window. He's just a player where it's like very volatile in terms of one play will blow a guy up, but the next play completely whiff on him because he's just ducking his head and lunging for contact. So if he plays with more control, he has the aggression to do it. He has the strength to do it, but his technique is just so spotty.
If you think about the Jets with the last regime, that's a theme. Play with more control, Quincy defense over pursue, and it's a theme for sure. So yeah, I mean, if Ruckert gets back to his blocking, they could be fine with Ruckert and Mason Taylor 1 and 2, not necessarily in that order. And then Stone Smart, okay, receiver. I don't know. I haven't seen much from Smart this offseason yet. Got to be honest.
Yeah, and then that's fine. The thing with Garrett Wilson too is I want to see, and this is something you can watch at camp. I think the biggest thing for him is attacking the ball. There were so many contested catch situations last year, and people would be like, "Oh my god!" But look at the Texans play. Again, that's 1 rep out of whatever he played 800. So you have to watch all the plays, but he catches with his body a lot, and then his releases. He really needs to just diversify his releases. So I'm curious to see that because he does get squeezed to the sideline quite a bit when he is releasing vertically,
and they lose time when he's an in space type of release guy. So. You could lose time and timing in terms of an offense like that. Now, you could make an argument it might affect this offense more with Fields because there's going to be a lot of one-read concepts and a lot of timing stuff and RPOs. And so, yeah, good call out. That's number 1. But here's something from OTAs this week. I think it might have been the catch of the day. Fields to Garrett. again, just like the backside dig I talked about with Martinez to Gibson. Same sort of thing, east-west route, 15, 18 yards, maybe a little bit less. I don't know. Fields led him. Great coverage. I forgot who it was. Inside hip, trailing, draped all over him. And Fields, I think you want to place it low, but Fields placed it high, and that's okay. Let him fine enough. And Garrett, strong hands. He didn't let it come. Now it was high, so would he have let it come into his body or not? I don't know if it was on the numbers. But he came down with it. It was a hell of a strong hands catch in traffic.
Yeah, I'm going to do a review of him. I'm almost done. Again, I got 3 more games to watch of the Jets season, but most of the problems with contested catches is just he lets it come into his body, and then obviously the DB can get his hand in there. So he has to attack the ball more and just be more confident in his hands. And there's actually something you saw in the gauntlet drill with Garrett Wilson was a lot of body catches and him jumping to catch the ball, and people are like, what is that about? And then you kind of see it at the NFL level. So he definitely needs to attack the ball more. But yeah,
remember Lavernius? Remember Lavernius would jump for everything, especially early when he first got to the Jets.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think that's something that Garrett, I think Garrett has the talent to be a top 10 receiver. I think, sure. I think people were killing actually our boy Connor Long a couple of months ago for saying that he's not like a top 10 guy. And I don't think I think he's in that 10 to 20 range, however you quantify it. I think he's a really good receiver, but if he could get his releases fixed up and just attack the ball and be more consistent with his hands, then he can be that top 5 guy, So
yes, he has the talent. And there's nothing wrong with Connor saying that, listen, in Jets fandom, there'll be something wrong with it. But when you talk to the national fans, I think he's pretty spot on. Like, he has the talent. There's nothing wrong with saying he's not a top 10 guy yet. I mean, look at the stats. Look at what happened. Look at what's happened. And there are times, and I guarantee you, this is what Glenn, because once Glenn got the job, he called everyone and had a checklist. This is what you got to work on. This is what you got to work on. Quincy talked about it after OTAs Tuesday. Tell me if I'm wrong. Did Aaron Glenn not tell Garrett, hey, there are times you have to get north-south and just go instead of dancing, looking for the home run? Breece too. I would be shocked if he didn't say that.
Yeah, Breece, man, he had a bad season. Let's just be honest. We don't have to get into it a ton, but I think he was near the tops in fumbles, near the tops in drops. I think he broke 7 tackles last year, which is honestly kind of embarrassing.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And dude, there was just times where his vision was off trying to go for the home run. There's quite a few times where he just fell down into contact. Like somebody's going to contact him, he just falls down into it. Like he was not good last year. I wouldn't even say he was average last year. I'm not trying to be that critical, just what it was on film, but I guess we'll see. And we'll kind of go into the tight end position here because some people are asking about it.
Guess what, fans? Aaron Glenn would say the same thing to him, and I can't say guarantee, but I'd bet money he did. That's what Glenn is. He's blunt, he's honest, he's going to be straightforward. So just because you say that about a guy doesn't mean you're knocking him. It's reality. It's how you coach. It's how you try to get better.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Sauce in a little bit too, but there's some things that I think Sauce was a little bit lazy with this year in terms of like his stance and some things like that. Like, I don't know if he got disinterested or if he was injured or what exactly happened, but you kind of brought up the tight ends. Mason Taylor, we're all assuming by default he's going to be tight end 1, right? Because there's really not much else there. Stone Smart's a quasi wide receiver. I think he's more of a receiver than a true tight end. So,
and Mason's involved a lot, by the way. He's involved.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, which is great too. And like, he's not a guy who I watched at LSU and I wasn't like, oh my God, he can't block. It was more we're not can't block. It wasn't the thing where he won't block. It was more the technique. His hands are always high and wide. He's always standing straight up, specifically in run blocks. Pass blocking, he was actually okay in, but it wasn't
even when he's in line, traditional in line, he's high and wide.
Yeah, he was. Now he could change that. Obviously, that's something that with coaching you could change your leverage. But pass blocking, he was actually okay. But it wasn't a thing where I watched him like, oh, this guy has no willingness to. Like, he has average strength, but he's willing to. So just fix the technique. Get a hand inside. Again, get sunken into that base a little bit more. But moving past that, Ruckert, we'll see. Huge question mark because he was just so inconsistent last year. What game was it? Wasn't he just running in a game and he just fumbled? I don't know what game it was. He caught a ball in the flat, turned upfield and just fumbled like for
at
no
MetLife,
reason.
right? It was at MetLife.
Maybe it was a Texans game. Maybe I think it might have been the Texans game.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was brutal last year against Stone Smart's huge question mark, and it kind of leads into where I was going with the header on this one. The man who is not discussed right now, and Andrew Beck, who was the Jets' first signing, actually. Not sure where Beck was their actually very first signing. A guy I watched with the Texans, and I'll put on some highlights here. I don't know if you have me on the tab, but if you don't pull it up, because this is about, let's see how long it is. It's 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Mm-hmm. So I'll kind of let you and the fans watch some highlights of Beck.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. I gotta,
dude. Just watch these plays and then tell me why people aren't talking about this guy to factor in terms of blocking. Now I should almost skip this play because it's like
number one he's
kickoff return, but
number one he's a fullback. no fullbacks get love.
Well, yeah, no doubt with the number, but he actually and the thing that was impressive about him is he lined up at tight end sometimes, and he actually ran decent routes. Like in terms of getting out of his breaks and using his hands and stuff, he was actually pretty solid. I think he's a good blocker. He's pretty patient. He understands angles. I did the review already. It's waiting to be posted, but it's a guy who I don't really hear people talk about. But when you go back and watch him, you're like, damn, like this is, to me, and I don't even think it's to me, I think it's factual, honestly. He's the best blocker the Jets have right now at a skill position, like undoubtedly.
The first thing that stands out is his instincts, or the awareness in space, his instincts. See, here's one of the things, and it's kind of connected. Aryan Smith, he's not Stephen Hill. He's not just a straight line guy. He has hips. He could move quick in space. But I saw a couple of routes at OTAs where it was clear. And when you're that fast, you're like a jet. You're out of a cannon, and you sometimes when you're route running, you have to be patient, and you have to set the guy up. And that's going to be the biggest thing with him. He breaks it off. He makes that cut too quickly. Stem. If once he gets the patience, he could turn into a great route runner. Beck, that it reminded me of that, because Beck, you could see his instincts and his awareness and his patience is there. Like he's smart.
His patience, he breaks down when he's getting into the contact window. Just like making like even like this last play, which I don't want to like break down for fans necessarily, but you'll go through it in the actual review. But like he's not supposed to block this guy. He's supposed to be leading for the running back because there's such quick penetration.
It's not a trap or anything. Yeah,
he picks him up because, hey, this is going to blow up the run immediately. He's supposed to get to the second level here, but he figured, okay, this is going to be the first thing to blow up that run because something happened. Like he is legitimately the Jets' best blocker. So when people are talking about the Jets in 21, 12, all this stuff, to me right now, gun to my head, and assuming he didn't change so much from when he came to I think he went from the Texans to like he bounced from the Packers.
Like that last play right just there, how he listen, it's a longer developing rush concept, obviously, but it's not easy to not play with hair on fire, especially as a fullback. And the deliberate action there, it's something. It's not nothing. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So again, it's just a thing where I'm cautioning fans, like, hey, when you're talking about the Jets, I would definitely talk about Beck as a blocker.
I got to keep an eye on him next week. Whatever.
Dude, he should be involved. Again, if he's like he is in this review, again with the Texans, to me right now he's fullback one easy. He's H-back one easy, which is kind of the similar thing.
If you don't carry him. If you don't carry him, it's Rucker and no one else. You have no one else to play H-back. No.
And to me, if you're talking about even 12 personnel, I'm putting him in over Rucker. I'm putting him in the game right away over Rucker. So to me, he's going to see a lot more reps than people think. And he's the guy who's literally not discussed by anybody. But when you look at the film, and again, there's a 40 minute review I do of him coming out. Super clean as a blocker, both in pass and run, ability to catch the ball. There's a one-handed catch in the review. Good route running, gets out of his breaks well. Like he is definitely under discussed. So I just wanted to bring him up.
Yeah, no, that's a good call out. I have to, admittedly, I haven't been focusing in on him at all at OTAs. Now, can I think of? Can't talk about packages and personnels and all that stuff and concepts from what we've seen. And that's a smart move by Glenn, by the way, being more Mangini, being more locked up, buttoned up, locked down, secretive. I think that's a good marker. But yeah, I'll pay attention next week. We'll see.
Yeah. No doubt. Pay attention if Beck's on the field and stuff, because and sometimes it's just crazy because you really never know how a guy transitions, whether it be age or just the actual transition to a team. Because I watched Tyron Smith with the Cowboys his last year. I'm like, dude, this guy is still elite when he's on the field. Like, he's really freaking good. He came to the Jets and sucked ass. Like, it was just like, what is going on here? You know,
that's crazy too, because he's a guy, and that's a position where the coaching shouldn't have affected him to that degree. You know, just straight pass blocking, one-on-one. Like, so that is a crazy one. That was absolutely crazy, because I can see a lot of different guys where the coaching just has no idea, and it affects you. It affects them. So, but Tyron, no, man.
Yeah, and I guess so. We have another question here too, and I'll start rolling into some of the questions. We'll get to defense. I don't really think there's anything else on offense I even want to really discuss. But MM says, okay, real question. How concerned are Yins? Which I guess, I don't know if that's you in like a younger kid's way. I don't know if MM's like 15 here, but I've never heard of Yins.
The kids are saying these days.
But how concerned are Yins about the interior defensive line situation behind Q? Seems pretty brutal. Now, for Sabo's sake, I'll say what he's going to say already. It's like, it's hard to tell in practice with interior defensive linemen. They're not wearing pads. It's literally impossible. So to me, when people come out of practice, and I don't know if you've done this, Robbie, but sorry if you have, but like, and you, at least you coach and stuff, so you know. But when I hear like just kind of, let's just say generic reporter say, oh yeah, the offensive line or defensive line, or this guy played really well, I'm like, what did you see? Come on, bro.
Listen, you already know the answer. You already know the answer. Like what's Weaver's first name? Rashad? What is his first name?
Rashad Weaver, yeah.
Okay. People were glowing about him this week. And you go to my Twitter or my stories, you won't see one mention. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a shout out, for sure. He could deserve a shout out, but Quinnen wasn't there. The entire D line's not there. JJ's not there yet. And the stuff where Weaver was getting into the backfield, at least two of them, the play would have been over well before he got there. That's just the way it is. It's practice. They're not going to hit the quarterback. The internal clock is done. So it's not like it was a clean, embarrassing win at the line of scrimmage. So I agree with you 100%. But am I worried about the interior depth? Sure. But I think it might not be sneaky. I think the more concerning one is at edge right now, because how much can you expect from Johnson after an Achilles? An entire year after an Achilles is a brutal thing. And then who you got?
Yeah, no, and for defensive line, what I think is going to happen, just based on watching all these guys, I think Taylor is going to be the backup for Q. You know, at
Taylor's the best hope for the Jets, honestly.
Yeah, but so the interesting thing is Noddy. You know, he's not Al Woods. He's an okay run stuffer, but the one that was kind of interesting to me is Cowart. Watching Byron Cowart, like you're assuming,
I saw you put that
pounds.
Out.
Yeah, 300 pounds, but he played one tech more than three tech. So he's a guy who's younger than Noddy. Maybe not as good of maybe on a similar tier of run stuffer, but offers a little bit more in the pass rush game. So I think they compete for one tech. And then on obvious passing downs, 3rd and 6+ type deals, we're going to have maybe Taylor and Q next to each other. But right now I think it's Noddy versus Cowart for D tackle next, or nose tackle, I should say, I guess, next to Q. And then transitioning. Go ahead.
No, it has to be. I mean, who else? Unless someone shows face so unexpectedly, there's no other configuration, right?
Yeah, no, I don't. I know they had another dude last year. I just forget what his name. I think he's actually more of an edge, but nonetheless, yeah. Behind JJ to me is let's be realistic here. A lot of his sacks last year, or 2 years ago, were more effort sacks. It wasn't a thing where beat the guy cleanly, get there in 2.5 seconds. It was more so effort or by design. Like if you remember that first game against the Bills, it was a stunt. He gets to Josh Allen completely untouched, which obviously there's skill in executing a stunt, right? But it's not beating a tackle one-on-one. So JJ was already just an okay pass rusher to me, which is not an insult.
Huff. Huff, and he's not really a speed. He's like a speed to power guy. Huff. A lot of it with JJ Huff 2 years ago, that defense, a lot of it was coverage sacks too. So we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, it's a thing where so, and again, me saying he's an okay pass rusher is not an insult, because if
No,
you're an
not at
okay
all.
pass rusher, but a good run defender, that makes you a solid defensive end. And that means that you're worth the 26th pick, 24th pick, whatever exactly it was. So, and he can obviously improve, but the problem is you're talking about more of an effort sack guy up to this point in his career, coming off of an Achilles tear. I think he'll be fine as a run defender, most likely, but is he going to offer much in the pass game at all? So that's the concern with him. And then on the opposite side, you kind of have the opposite. You have Will McDonald, who showed a lot in the rush game last year, but who offers very little in run defense. So you have two guys who are polar opposite, who have struggles. Now behind that, you have Barron, right? Who I think is going to be, he'll be on the roster at this year. And how does he factor in? We'll see. But then past him, do you carry Clemens for $3.5 million? To me, based on what I've watched, I get rid of Clemens and I put in Eric Watts.
McGregor.
Yeah, McGregor. Watts got more snaps than McGregor last year.
I think Watts is and by the way, based on what I've seen, I think Watts is ahead of McGregor right now.
Yeah. Okay. And then past that, something I wanted to bring up was, and this is what I brought up pre-draft, because a lot of people are like, oh, the Jets are going to get a DN, they're not going to get this, whatever. And I brought up to people like, hey, Aaron Glenn's a 3-4 guy. And obviously, I'm sure he can implement the 4-3, but what's the one way to make a 4-3 kind of have some 3-4 principles? Get that linebacker, get that 4-3 into a 5-2, get that linebacker, like that hybrid, D end outside linebacker guy. So I was thinking Jalen Walker might be a possibility. So to simulate some 5-man fronts, do they have like Maui Goa on the line? Like, it's going to be interesting to see. I thought that was a hole for them that they didn't really address either. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all turns out.
Yeah, agreed. And with the 4-3, 3-4 stuff, you've seen it. We both watched Glenn with Detroit. Yeah, 4-3 guy, but the principles he likes to teach, some of them line up with 3-4. So it's not so much the actual scheme and how it looks in terms of what's on film, but it's not going to be hair on fire, attack the gaps aggressively like solid no matter what, even if the offense is burning you with screens and counters and draws or what have you. It's more of a read and react type thing where they're going to teach. So that should be interesting. Personnel wise, how would they pull it off? Because as you said, it's got to be Nandi and Cowart, and you're living on the edge there if you're going to go nose tackle at all in any situation.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern with the Jets defense right now is just run defense in general. Yeah, I think in the pass game, they could be fine because, Tony Adams has the upside to play, strong safety, play in the slot, all that stuff. Obviously they have, Gardner and all that stuff and Brandon Stevens and whatever else it may be. So I think they'll be fine in coverage. But my problem is the interior of the defensive line in terms of run defense. And then past that, like I like a lot of what the Jets have done, but Tony Adams is not a good tackler. Cisco, one of my biggest problems with the Jaguars is he's a bad tackler, dude. Like he takes some awful angles. Like he got undercut for many touchdowns with the Jaguars.
Free safety is all about angles.
Yeah. No, I don't want to make a low light film of Cisco because that's not the popular thing to do. But he gets undercut all the time. He takes angles that are way too high. So he let up at least, by my count off the top of my head, again, I've watched thousands of reps, at least 5 or 6 touchdowns just on bad angles in terms of tackling.
Is it based on over aggression, or the other way around?
No, he just anticipates. Like he doesn't track the near hips, and he gets too high, and his hips are open to the sideline, and guys are just they just cut back on him all day.
I got you.
All day.
Okay.
So that's a problem. And then even with Sauce's tackling, not the best.
And by the way, folks, it's not the easiest. It's not the easiest thing in the world as a free safety to make that tackle. But yes, I hear you.
No, it's littered. It's littered.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring up this.
By the way, real quick, Nania sent me a message. Jan Katzen Nelson, did he send a super chat here? Yeah, 20 minutes behind. Good to have you back, Joe. Hey, Sabo, let site members have access to the full YouTube vids. So, Jan, I tried for months to try to connect YouTube and a website. It's just impossible. So for the longest time, all we had was memberships on the site and didn't do anything on YouTube. But there's so many YouTube people that we wanted to open it up to both. But here's the thing. Anything that's on YouTube that's behind the paywall is on the site. So you could watch the same video. You just have to grab it on the site. There's no way to connect the two, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what happened to Sabo last week. We were on, I think it was like 4 o'clock, and then like by 5 o'clock, Sabo was like, "This is wrong. This is wrong. This is." I don't think people don't realize how much Sabo does behind the scenes for Jets X Factor, but that's where he operates is in his bat cave, trying to get all this shit figured out.
It's a miracle I haven't gone nuts yet, honestly. Like you're gonna see me one day just lose my marbles completely.
Yeah. It seems like it's quite a bit of a pain in the ass. So I'm definitely happy it's you back there and not me, because you already know how I am with technology. I'm already an idiot. I couldn't do what
one
you're
day.
doing, so.
One day we'll be chilling on the beach with one of those umbrella drinks, laughing it up. Don't you worry.
Hey, I hope so. We maybe this. Are you planning on going into away games? Talking about on the beach? You going to Tampa or anything like that, or no?
Yeah. So I haven't planned it out yet, but for sure. Yeah, let's put it that way, for sure.
Yeah. Our own Connor Long asked Sabo, do you think Cook can make the roster?
The 53? No.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Like the thing is, are we so worried that somebody's going to grab Cook? Why waste the roster spot? Put him on the practice squad. If you have to elevate him.
Yes, and I think the main call out with Cook is, again, like I talked about before, philosophy driven. What does he do well? What are his attributes? All right, his arm is not crazy weak. We're not talking about Jeff George here, but he could run. He has legs. Adrian Martinez also. It fits, being a backup quarterback in this type of offense where, you don't want, your entire, you don't want, pocket passing like Joe Flacco backing up Justin Fields. That would be nightmarish. So I think Cook, he's going to have a tough road ahead of him to make it.
Yeah.
But he fits the offense. I'll say that.
James says, my question for you guys, do you think that we kind of already got into this, but the Jets lacking proven blocker at tight end is going to be a real problem? Running the offense, can we really trust rookie Taylor Ruckert Smart? No, you cannot realistically. Can you just trust a rookie? No. Can you trust Ruckert based on what he's shown from you for 3 years? Absolutely not. Smart is a big receiver, so no. But again, like I just played the highlights, factor in Beck. Beck is the best blocker the Jets have on offense. So consider him when you're talking about that. Moving on to the corners a little bit too. What'd you think about the whole Brandon Stevens thing? 'Cause at first I was a little bit puzzled, but
with the signing?
I don't know if you've watched him at all or not, or what are your thoughts on him? Or
he hasn't stuck out in any glaringly negative or positive way. Say this: Fields threw a nice ball on Tuesday, left sideline, vertical, to Garrett Wilson. Outside shoulder near the sideline. It was on the far side from where we were, so I didn't have the best look at it. Did Garrett give him enough space to the sideline? I don't know. But the ball was located nice. It was in a good spot where he had a chance and it was safe. The guy covering it, Brandon Stevens, on his hip the entire time. No separation. So he gets a shout out for that one.
And it almost seems like to me what they did this year was they brought in a lot of guys with like fatal flaws and are trusting their coaching to overcome those flaws, like Aryan Smith with his hands, or Brandon Stevens. I did that review like a week ago. If he can learn how to play the ball, and people put it too simply, like, oh, just play the ball. Like there's many different ways to talk about how to play the ball. The biggest problem with him in Baltimore was knowing when to either play through the receiver or look back to the ball. There were so many examples of, especially vertically. So like for me, if you have a receiver who stacks you vertically, or if you're hip to hip with them vertically, if you look back for the ball, if you have a good spot on them, look back for the ball within 3 to 5 yards of the receiver looking back. Stevens' problem was after 10 yards, he was looking back and the ball would be over his head. And then he tries to play the hands and it's too late. To me, if you just told Stevens, do not ever look back for the ball if the receiver's looking back for any more than 5 yards. Like that's my rule with him, because he was in a good spot so many times. He just can't track it well. And another problem with Stevens is when he does look back for the ball, he looks low and you're taught to look high to low because that's how the ball's trajectory is, right? Like you don't want the ball's trajectory going opposite of your eyes. So you follow high to low so you could find it. But his problem is he looks low and looks too late, and then he's beat over his head. So it's so frustrating watching him because I broke him down for like 70 plays. I'm like, dude, it happens over and over and over again. Like your coaches need to be drilling it into you. Stop looking back for the freaking. If just play through the hands. If you need to be that simple for Stevens, play through the hands every single time. You're never gonna get a pick, but you'll get 1,000 breakups.
Yes, maintain contact. Don't get lost when your eyes go somewhere else. Even if you're looking too quickly. as you've said millions of times, and I tell my kids, your eyes are everything when covering.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything. Even further, defense, but especially when covering, your eyes are everything. Maintaining contact while you're using your eyes is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Stephens, it should be interesting. And again, you said they sign these guys with fatal flaws. Yes. And on top of that, it's as if they're acquiring guys to do specific things that they want to do. Like,
yes.
Like we talked about with Aryan Smith, vertical, take the top off. Reynolds, Lazard, blockers. Now, how's his press man?
So this is I was gonna interrupt. I didn't want you to let you continue. So
was that where you were going?
The thing with him is too, you consider Glenn, even though being a short corner himself, clearly loves big corners, right? Based on who he signed. Man.
Yeah, because he's gonna
Sauce, and when he was down a little bit last year, which him down is still like corner 10 or 8 or whatever it was, like he still had a good year.
Yes.
But so you have one, or he fits in that he's big. 2, he fits in that he pretty much strictly played on the right side with the Ravens. Sauce plays on the left, so I think they're going to keep Sauce on the left side because when Sauce moves around a little bit, I don't think he's as comfortable. And some people just assume that you can move from left to right. It's not always that easy when you're playing elite athletes. Like sometimes it's just a comfort thing.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want Sauce in the slot either, to be honest.
No. Yeah. And with Stephens too, what I was going to say, and what you mentioned is, what is Sauce's best trait? Like, you want him to get his long arms and press, and he can do everything, but you want Sauce in press. Stephens, you definitely want him in press. He's a lot better in press. Azaria Thomas, a lot better in press. Now, Stephens, again, has 2 fatal flaws. One is tracking the ball, again, knowing when to play hands or play just the ball, when to look back to the ball, like in terms of turning the hips inside or playing the ball through the outside. Mm-hmm. And then the second problem with Stephens is what I call shuffle versus weave. He tends to shuffle in off coverage a lot, which really makes you susceptible to in breaks and out breaks. It's really hard to
back instead of weaving back pedal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back pedal is more of just weaving is just a back pedal that you're getting lateral in instead of opening your hip up and shuffling, which makes you susceptible to many breaks because it's really hard to get like your T-step or quarter step from a shuffle. So for me, Stephens, if he just played in weave instead of shuffle and then just knew when to look back for the ball, he could be a really good corner. So he's a really interesting study, Brandon Stephens. So to interrupt you, 100%.
No.
Impressed all the time.
I listen again with a lot of these guys and the limited time I have. There's so many guys I haven't gotten to and even watch your stuff yet. So I need to know this. But you know what we need to do now? I'm interested to see some of those techniques. What were the overwhelming techniques with Detroit, with Glenn, with his corners? I watched a decent amount, but nothing really took hold in terms of one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe that's something I should do instead of watching like J2 Faley and stuff, because I watched all these guys. Maybe I should watch Detroit a little bit more. But the thing I will say is just based on watching the entire roster, even no matter what he did in Detroit, if he's not pressing these guys, there's a problem because it's all what they very much excel in.
Yeah, they're going to be pressing. Yeah.
So if they're playing an off, because Azaria Thomas is definitely not comfortable in off, neither is Stephens, and Sauce I don't think is as great in off coverage. So to me, you gotta press the crap out of them. But
they're going to. And you brought up AZ Thomas. I'm going to do an article soon on JetX. You know the top 3-5 guys that have stood out in OTAs. AZ's up there. AZ is up there. It is. Well, first of all, he's not as big as I thought he'd be. He doesn't look as tall as I thought he'd be. Mm-hmm. Not as menacing in terms of like his prototype, but he doesn't look slow. I mean, he's not, Usain Bolt, obviously, but he doesn't look slow. He's fast in short spaces, and that's all I asked for from an NFL corner, especially on the outside. There was a play a couple of weeks ago. I forgot who it was running the over route, but it wasn't a bum receiver, and he stayed attached in the perfect spot underneath inside hit the entire time and shut it down, and it was the primary read. So he just keeps flat. Like, I really like him. Really like him.
Yeah, no, and that kind of correlates the right word, but that's what happened. Like, that's what I saw on film from him too. The 4, 5, 6 time, I think he's more of a low 4-5 guy, high 4-4 guy based on what I watched.
That's fine.
I think he had more of average speed. Like I didn't watch him like, oh my God, he can't keep up with guys. And like you said, he's more explosive in short areas. He has long arms. He's really, really good in press, like getting shuffles in. He knows how to play the ball well. He knows how to play the hip really well. And to me, like, I think one of the problems is a lot of people they do these mock draft machines over and over and over and over again. And they try to plug holes. Oh, well, the Jets have these 7 needs. Look how I filled these 7 needs. But to me, in the NFL draft, like, first, second round, like, okay, I get doing like more BPA at position at the best. BPA at a position of need. But third, fourth, fifth, sixth round, just take the best player. Like you have no idea what's going to happen to your roster. So take the player you think is going to be, again, the best overall NFL player. And watching Azareye'h Thomas, like it makes me really legitimately question, like, and I feel stupid for saying it, but like, I question evaluators sometimes.
Oh yeah,
like how this guy
they're
dropped into the third round because of a 4.56 40 time. But you turn on the film and it's like the guy is really good. Like he shouldn't have been anything later than an early second to me is kind of crazy for Azareye'h Thomas. So I think they got a steal here.
Yeah, listen, no, you shouldn't be sorry to question it. I mean, listen, there's a fine line between being arrogant and the opposite way, but. A lot of these talent evaluators are just like they know football. Hell yes, and they know so much more football than the average fan. But your shit. Like let's not be idiots here. Like so, and listen, sometimes business gets in the way too. Let's be honest with the organizations and how it runs. And there's so many voices. It is so much easier to evaluate when it's just you, when it's just one person. But when it gets into a group, that's where the noise happens, and that's why I always subscribe to the. Always has to be one at the top of the hierarchy making the decision. Like Muji and Glenn, both reporting to Woody. That's fine. But who's the sheriff? Who's the tiebreaker? It's Glenn. Obviously, it's Glenn. And that's fine. As long as there's a clear guy and he knows it has to be a clear guy, that's what works in football. So, yeah, dude, I completely agree.
But like you're trained to think like, okay, these are like multi-million, billion-dollar organizations. But like there's certain things with Azareye'h Thomas. Like, okay, how did he fall? One of the things, how did Javon Kinlaw get $15 million a year this year? It makes zero sense. And I bring this up all the time, but Uzomah was never even in the league of a player of like in the same league as Conklin. How did Uzomah get more money than Conklin when the Jets signed him? Like certain things just make zero sense to me sometimes. And like, same thing with positions and receivers. I think I have to respond to Rivka, but she actually brought this up because she's like, you bring up a lot of stuff where it's like the same technique over and over and over and over again. The guys screw up, and if they just fixed it, they could be so much better players. I'm like, I don't understand. And I think coaches maybe have less time to fix stuff in season.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
But there's certain times where like whether it be press and opening up your hips or Sauce getting lower pre-snap or Joe Tippmann chasing on a combo, like to me, and there's a bunch with combo blocks, but like if it's a combo block and you're on the front side and it's like an outside zone, okay, you could take 5 steps to the combo. Yeah. If they're going more vertically, you take 5 steps, that linebacker's going to be blown past you already. So I'm a 3-step and get up type guy. Yeah. And like they consistently blow stuff. And I'm watching, I'm like, what is going on? It's
overthinking.
I go crazy, but I don't know.
Overthinking sometimes when there's not a solid plan and when there's uncertainty, and that's been the headline with the Jets, with the last regime. You're going to overthink. You're going to overthink it. You're not going to play. And that's what you just described with combos and tip. By the way, free agency, all bets are off. Because once agents get involved and the business and all that. But yeah, the draft, the talent evaluation, the teaching of the techniques. I hear you. It's befuddling sometimes. And Tippmann, here's a question. Do you think Tippmann's height, and Myers isn't short either, by the way. Do you think Tippmann's height gets in the way or potentially ever gets in the way of what Glenn and Engstrom want to do offensively in terms of a specific QB designed heavy rush scheme?
It undoubtedly hurts him, right? Like he's going to be out leveraged sometimes. Like it just is what it is. He can't make himself shorter. Now you could play as little as you want, but he's 6'6", like it's just, he cannot eliminate that. So I think he was like a plus average center last year, but there's definitely times he gets out leveraged. So in terms of like creating movement.
Yeah. And when I say hurt him, I don't mean devastate his career, but
Yeah, but enough to put Josh Myers in there over him. No. Now, the question I was going to ask with Myers is, and I don't know if you can even answer this, and if you can't answer it, just tell me on the side. But I'm curious to see if he's going to play a little bit of guard too, because I think he's actually a pretty good backup center. They don't really have much at guard right now. They have Xavier Newman, right, at tackle. I actually like it's Okafor, I believe is his last name, Chakua, whatever. Okafor. I liked him with the Steelers, so I like him as a backup tackle for the Jets. Assuming he doesn't go AWOL and lose his shit and whatever else he did with the Pats. Assuming he is what he was with the Steelers, I like him. But the interior offensive line depth is not great. Minus Myers. Like Myers to me is a low end starter to a really good backup.
Oh, he's an excellent guy, to 6th or 7th guy for sure. Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, he struggles in the run game. Really good in the pass game. Run game, he's very, very spotty in. But in terms of pass pro, he is an NFL level starter in pass pro. That's you can't argue that.
Okay, so it got out. We're not supposed to talk about personnel, but it did get out that Myers and Tippmann, quote unquote, battle for center. I wouldn't really, if you're a fan, I wouldn't really look too much into that right now because, Glenn is Parcells. Glenn learned from that school, so. I guarantee you, he sends messages. He sends those unspoken messages at times to guys. Could that be an example here? I don't know. Could it be just the familiar nature of Myers and Fields at Ohio State? I don't know. But after that first media available OTA, it kind of flipped, and Tippmann, was back running with the one. So it should be interesting. We'll see. They're both really tall guys. You look at, Kelsey, obviously not crazy tall. I'm just trying to envision Tippmann, and it'll be interesting if they actually try to do a version of the tush push because people.
Oh, that's what you're thinking specifically?
I was
going to ask you.
Not specific, not overall.
Like down blocks, like is he blocking back? Like his comboing is fine and stuff. But like
a lot of different
really
situations.
Movement.
A lot of different situations, goal line, tighter splits, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of different situations where you're running those situations, those in tight, bulky situations, tighter split situations more often as opposed to being an open offense. You know what I mean? Because it could be taxing if you're trying to get low so much more than you're used to at that height. But yeah, tush push comes into play too. And a fan, I forgot who it was, but he's like, you really think Fields could run the tush push? He's small, no? And like, I think he's strong as hell, man. He could, dude, he is a beast. And if you look at Hurts and Fields side by side, it's not much difference in terms of size, if I'm not mistaken.
Dude, like, so I like Hurts, but in terms of like running the football, let's just say strictly running, not even passing. Like I think Fields is a better runner than Hurts. He's a more physically imposing guy.
Explosive, way more explosive. For sure.
The thing. Like really, I think it's so again, and however you want to stack them, but to me, it's Fields, it's Josh Allen, and it's Lamar Jackson as the top 3 runners of the football.
Yes.
In the NFL, and then I think it's probably Hurts and maybe Jaden Daniels at 4 and 5, something like that.
I agree, and the only quarterback who could say he's more explosive or just as explosive as him is Lamar. That's it.
Yeah, Lamar, I would say, is more shifty than Fields, but I think Fields is stronger than Lamar. Like he's almost like a good midpoint between and again, just rushing the football. Do not be crazy here, but like he's a good midpoint between like Lamar and Josh Allen, where Josh Allen isn't as shifty, but he's really powerful because he's so freaking big.
Yeah, Hurts 6'1", 222, Fields 6'3", 227.
Yeah, so
what are we talking? Of course, they could run the tush push as long as the O line can get it done. But to be fair, Hurts looks a lot bigger because he's wearing freaking body armor with those with that shoulder pads and rib protector. It's absurd.
I'm sure his rushing stats are really, really like consistent too because he plays behind a dominant offensive line, and every time he lines up at the 1 yard line, he gets a touchdown too. Like I'm sure
people don't realize there too. People don't realize what an advantage that is. The tush push.
Oh yeah,
it is beyond anybody's imagination. What a weapon that is. So
I wonder how many times they ran it last year. Like how many times in short yardage did they run that? Because it's such a cheap play. And I know their success went down last year a little bit.
Yes, but like still a great advantage.
3rd and 1, run it every single time. Like I just, especially with the way that that's played nowadays. Like you don't see a lot of Michael Pierce's and Vince Wilforks and stuff like that clog up the middle.
It basically, with that weapon, you turn every 1st and 10 into a 1st and 8, 1st and 7.5 almost. Like that's literally what it is. People don't realize. An easy argument can be made. They don't win the championship without that play. Easy.
Yeah, maybe obviously maybe not this year because they blew out the Chiefs, but
yeah,
prior years or just to get there. Yeah, maybe
even the road.
There,
the road to get there. Like all I'm trying to say is it's so much more valuable than people think. That's why people were fighting to the death. That's why I feel he's trying to fight to the death to keep it. And say what you want about Glenn. Well, I think for Glenn, in terms of being a great coach, it'll come down to strategy in a lot of ways and how stubborn he is and in allowing his DC and OC to do his thing. But other than that, I mean, I love what I see so far, and say what you want, but he's trying to ride the wave of what works in terms of the NFL. That's the main takeaway.
Yeah. And we'll get to some of the chat a little bit too. Our own Aryan Smith is Robby Anderson 2.0. I talked about this. It's not true. It is not, just because just the way they move is so much different. Robby Anderson did not have like control of himself as much. He's a longer strider.
Yeah.
He couldn't get in and out of breaks as quickly as Aryan Smith could. Actually, I mentioned it before. I mentioned Stephen Hill, not Robby Anderson, but Stephen Hill is much more close to Robby Anderson than to Aryan Smith.
Yes,
but
I was going to say that.
Yeah, just because long legs can't get out of breaks. If Aryan Smith fixed his route running a little bit, like he could shoot out of breaks. It's just the thing about technique, where Robby Anderson quite literally was not able to because of just how long he was and stuff like that. And the one thing that's really impressive about Aryan Smith too, watching him on film, and this is something it's not like a trait that's gonna, win him player of the year, but he's a much more willing blocker than you think he was for 179 pounds. He gets after it as a blocker. That's like, in terms of aggression. In terms of just straight aggression as a blocker, he's probably the most aggressive blocker the Jets have.
That's good.
Which is crazy. I don't think he'll be one of the primary blockers, but he's definitely willing to do it.
That is great, and I guarantee it's something Glenn saw on film and said, "Give me that guy."
Yeah, you'd hope so.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, but they hate old people. So what guy? Yeah, some people are talking about. Oh, this is a question I saw. What have you seen from Jamal Pritchett? I guess he's a receiver, right? I saw him catch a couple of balls.
Yeah. Jamal with the 2 A's, not like Jamal Adams. Oh, by the way, you want Jamal Adams back?
No, please God, no. He was like, no. There's like, I don't want that drama, right? In terms of building a culture and stuff, that's the guy you want back. It makes zero sense.
Dude, listen, I know we're on the same page. We both loved Jamal when he was here. He was great to break down. Better in pass coverage with the Jets than people gave him credit for, especially one-on-one. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Jamal Pritchett, he made a catch the other day. I think it was Tuesday. Not crazy off the charts, but I think there's a chance there. There's a chance. He's and it's weird. He's wearing like a running back number, even though he's a receiver, if I'm not mistaken.
This was, I forget where you said you were, Maris. He's in like Fiji or something like that. He said it's like 5 a.m. and he's watching right now, which is ridiculous, but thank you. He said they have a composite. Yeah, they have a composite wide receiver 2 plus Fields is notorious for using the tight end after receiver 1.
Well, you know why?
I wanted to twist that into, do you think Mason Taylor is the second leading target getter in the Jets offense right now? Or who would you say it is?
You know why? Some of it has to do with Fields, but some of it has to do with the offense. Look at Lamar. A lot of middle of the field stuff. RPOs. When you're running an RPO system, read option zone read, stuff that's built on that, it's about timing. It's about first reads, and you don't have the time to get to the sideline with the pass. It's such a quicker deciding passing scheme. So that's why the middle of the field dominates. That's why the Ravens tight ends are the best in fantasy every year. It's going to be similar, I think, with the Jets. So Garrett won. I think it's going to be close between Breece and Mason Taylor. Breece is going to line up everywhere, folks. Don't be shocked if Braylon Allen is close to Breece in rush attempts.
Now, my only thing with Breece is, and I think he's going to be the third. He's going to get the third amount of targets.
Yeah,
I think it's more from checkdowns though, because the only thing with Breece is, and you can move him around a lot, but so far throughout his NFL career, he hasn't shown much as a pass catcher.
No, he's dropped. He's got a lot of drops.
The drops, and the only impressive play I can think of in the pass games for like actually catching a football was that Titans play. But past that, yeah, it's the drops. So I think he's going to be again the third guy with targets, but almost more checkdowns. But you think it's going to be more like, hey, he's actually involved as like running slants and stuff like over the middle, like he's going to be legitimately involved in the pass game?
It's a good question. Listen, he's not going to be Marshall Faulk. Take that off the table. But will there be times when they do something like that? I think so. Just to what level is the question. Now, does he have that ability? I think what's making me optimistic about it is I've seen him play with zero confidence the last year, especially. So is it just a confidence thing or is it a talent thing? Because he doesn't hit the hole. Is it just no confidence since that injury? It's been really rough. It's a good question. But yeah, listen, screens, check downs, flats out of the backfield for sure. But there will be sets where they go empty and have him out there 11 personnel because you want to give Fields the best pre-snap look as possible, and that's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think with a lot of like the motion in the backfield and stuff, like they'll have two running backs in the backfield and flex Breece out or
they'll start empty and bring Breece 11 personnel and bring Breece back in. Yeah.
The thing about Breece though, it's weird is he had better explosion numbers the year after his injury than 2 years after his injury. He actually got slower and less explosive 2 years after it, which makes zero sense to me.
But it's confidence.
In terms of James's question, like what had him like a lot of it was his I think what's easy to do for fans is always just blame the guys who left because now they're not here. So just cast blame on them. It's like, oh, blame Keith Carter. But a lot of it was Breece, dude. Like Keith Carter didn't hold on to the football or he didn't fumble the football for him or drop the football for him or make him fall down before even getting contacted or not break any arm tackles. So what made him bad was him. Like, I don't think it was anything outside of him. So whether it be a confidence thing or he's thinking about contracts coming up, or maybe he was down because the Jets suck so bad he just doesn't want to be, in a losing situation. I don't know what it was, but to call him average last year, I think is giving him too much credit. Like, just being honest with what I saw, he was below average running back last year. It just is what it is. So I don't know what's going to happen.
There was a week when they gave his first handoff, his first rush. I forgot which week it was. Maybe I'll find it. But there was a week when he took the handoff and he hit the hole harder than I've ever seen before. It should have been a 1 yard loss or no gain. And he carried a couple guys to 3 or 4 yards off the left side. And I go, whoa, like, where did that come from? So he can still do it. And listen, Carter, the Jet scheme, yes, it was a mess. They didn't know what they were doing. So yeah, he's starting from behind there, but you're right. Like, it is up to him. He's got to recapture that confidence and hit the hole hard and start there. And from there, once you're being productive and you're doing it over and over again, you could branch back out into your home run threat stuff.
Yeah, damn. I was trying to find a play. I think it was versus the Cardinals, but like they open up a hole for him and there's a linebacker there and he just falls. He literally just falls from running. So I don't know what was going on. But the problem with Breece though is like at this point, just because he's been so hot and cold, even if he has a really good year, I don't see them signing him because to me, you need to prove it for a little bit longer than he has to get the contract I think he'll want if he has a good year. And obviously, if he has a bad year, you're not going to sign him anyway. So I think this is most likely Breece's last year in green and white. Now, maybe they make it like a 1 year prove it deal, but I don't see him being here for a long time. And then part of the thing with Breece too, and I hate to be like, old man yelling at cloud stuff, but he's a little bit immature on social media sometimes too. Like, I don't know if you remember when he got 4 carries the one game and put out the four emojis of 4 football emojis and stuff like that. But I don't think he's a long-term Jet.
It's hard to disagree. Listen, the first thing that's glaring is the position, and that's number one.
Yeah.
Number
Team's
2,
timeline too.
Timeline 2. Number 3, the type of offense they want to run. If it's really going to be read option, zone read RPO, and it's going to work, you're going to have Fields working east-west, and you want that north-south guy like a Derrick Henry who hits the hole with reckless abandon. And right now, Braylon Allen is leaps and bounds ahead of Breece in that category. Let's be fair. I'm not saying he's a better running back, but in terms of that intent, he is. So,
even talking about intent, who's a guy who's actually really intentful and just gets to the hole is Isaiah Davis. He gets there. I like Isaiah Davis, but we'll see.
Yeah, so that's why I keep thinking they're going to try to use Breece in situations where it makes sense. To what level, to what degree they go with it, that's remains to be seen.
James Curtis, we kind of hit on this before. Do you think Myers has a legit shot to push Tippmann? Again, it has to be the Ohio State thing because. And I brought this up on a couple of streams, but do you remember Ben Ajalana from a few years? I don't know if you were doing ESNY.
Tackle.
Ben Ajalana.
Was he a tackle or a guard? He was a tackle.
He was a tackle. Yeah. But he was a tackle. But in like 2017, he got a 2-year, $11 million contract for $5.5 million a year. That was in 2017. So now Myers, 8 years later, I get at center, so it's different, but he's getting $3.5 million. Like, that is not starter level money. That is good backup money. Wes Schweitzer got that. A lot of guys get that who are backups. So I don't get it, what it is. Now, again, maybe if he's playing over him with the starters, there's actually some credibility to that claim that maybe he's pushing him. But I think it's more like you said, like just a Glenn thing where he's trying to kick him in the rear end. Do I think that he's going to start Myers over a 23, 24-year-old center who was one of the better, a top half of the league center last year? Like, absolutely not. Right. So
if he had to put a team on the field right now, no, I don't think he would. But he's got time to work with. He's got some practices to work with. So, what's the harm in mixing it up a bit? I think that's what fans have to hold on to and think about.
Well, that too, and it's like a thing where you want to mix some guys in together, because there's the offensive line. Well, maybe there's some offensive line in history, but there's not like 100% non-injury guarantee. Like, you're going to have guys who are injured, so you want to mix in some guys that can get used to playing next to each other as well. Dakota says Joe Burrow is the only quarterback 90 pass touchdowns in less than 30 interceptions in since the 2022 seasons. Bengals should be a problem. The only thing with the Bengals is they're gonna have to win 42-35. Like, they have no defense. So I think the Bengals may actually struggle this year. Like, I don't think they're going to be some powerhouse. I think the Bengals might be like an 8-9 type team just because they have shit for defense this year.
And what's crazy is Lou Anarumo, he was unbelievable when they got to the Super Bowl. One of the best DC performances I remember in the playoffs. And, I don't know if it was a combo of him and the talent, but you're right. The defense is terrible now. And the fact that he's no longer there, I forget where he went, but the fact that he's no longer there, they're going to have to win big with points.
Yeah. Now, this is a good question for you. Again, I'll throw more scheme stuff to you, and personnel stuff I love to do. But what do you guys think of the scheme staying outside zone heavy under Engstrand, like Nani laid out in the article? Good fit for the roster. I guess I do think the Lions ran more outside zone. I don't know. I think with this team, with Field, they may be a little bit more. They may attack the interior a little bit more, just like with outside zone and stuff. Sometimes it can be a little more difficult to involve the quarterback with outside zone stuff. And,
it'd be naked.
Me personally, just schematics wise, I absolutely despise outside zone from gun. I just hate the aiming points. I hate how long it takes.
Or pistol.
It is, pistol. Yeah. But at least with pistol, you're at a more direct angle where, like, even outside zone, it's just more like it's so long developing.
Correct.
That, like,
that's it.
I hate it. It just never works for me. But nonetheless,
it's a higher risk. Zone? It's a higher reward, higher risk thing. And you're gambling. First of all, you're gambling on outside zone and naked boot off of that, to the flat. As it is, if you're doing it like you said and it's longer developing, it's even a higher risk play. So yeah, I get it, man. If you go like inside zone split and have Mason Taylor as the flasher, sifter, whatever you want to call it, on the kick out, you could play a lot of 2-man game with Fields and Mason Taylor running to the edge. So I like that. In terms of what they're going to be specifically in terms of rush concepts, I don't know. And I think the main thing is I don't think they really know exactly either. Not to that level of precision. You know what I mean? Like, they have a philosophy. They're implementing an offense. But if they're great coaches, they'll figure it out once they get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I feel like zone is great. Like, if you could really perfect it, but it feels like such a harder scheme to run just because there's so much more thinking with a zone, where with power and stuff counter, it's all drawn up for you. Like, hey, you attack this guy on a combo, get to the second level, instead of a zone where you have to read a bunch and diagnose. And like, even like you'd think like, oh, Fashion, he's not the best run blocker, he's more athletic, so it may be better for him to be in zone. But I almost think it's easier for Fashion for it to be simplified in more like power and angle block schemes and stuff. So I think I don't know.
I think they're not throwing either one away. Let's put it that way. I think
no team does.
Correct. But like, some teams are 90-10 or 80-20. I think in their mind, it's more so about how the quarterback fits into it and how everything works off of that, as opposed to zone or man. And hopefully, this is my optimism, but hopefully they figure it out and they get more precise about it. Like what works with this offense, with our personnel as they get into August and September and even during the season.
I don't know if this is actually true, but hilarious if so. He said he ordered his Beck jersey thanks to JetX analysis of him. Thanks for my weird jersey of the year.
Anthony Beck?
No. Andrew Beck. Yeah. Andrew, which the GOATA said Beck or Beck. Yeah. I guess we'll see. I hope I don't disappoint with the Beck review, but it should be coming out, I think, actually relatively soon. But let's see. Beck the singer. Okay, I'm just trying to find some questions in here.
I remember him.
I always get behind on the questions. Let's see. Chill on the coffee. You guys always talk to each other. Overall, though, I think I've heard you talk about this a little bit, but your expectations for the season, are you in the 6 to 8 range? I know I've listened to a podcast or two with Wayne Corbett. Wayne Corbett seems to be the ultimate optimist, where it's like, oh, well, the Jets, it's 0-0. They could be 17-0 this year.
Yes.
But realistically, like I probably fall at like 7 wins. Gun to my head, would it be 6 or would it be 8? I would probably say 6, and I think that it has to do with like the tough schedule to start. I would rather have the tough games at the end, where they could build themselves up to being a cohesive team, than at the beginning, when I think they'll have some lumps. But to me, I think they're probably like gun to my head 7-10 this year. Do you have like similar expectations, or what are you thinking while I scroll through some questions?
I said I forgot who it was, but I think it was Asman on Asman's show. I said 8 or 9. I said 8 and 9. So like, based on what I've seen from Glenn, what he's trying to implement right now, they can be a 500 team, right around 500, and which shocked the listeners apparently when they were listening. But that's not, it's not so much a vote of confidence for Fields. It's knowing there's talent on this roster and how underutilized it was the past 3 or 4 years. And then knowing what Glenn is implementing. Again, it'll come down to strategy. It'll come down to Angstrand. But yeah, 500, 7-10. Absolutely. That is probably more accurate, but I'll go 8 and 9 right now, I'd say.
Yeah, 8 and 9. Okay. I'll fall at 7-10. Tyson's he's got some good stuff in the pipe. Apparently, he's saying Clemens for comeback player of the year. Obviously, being a little bit crazy there. But do you think
DraftKings? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about Clemens though? Because like at this point, he hit some playtime incentive where now his salary went up from like $1 million to like $3 million or something like that. So do you think he's a guy who's going to be like, okay, he's a Glenn guy, tough and all this stuff, but he's just so undisciplined sometimes? To me, I get rid of him, but do you think and again, it's only $3 million, but do you think if gun to your head right now, is Clemens on the 53?
So listen, I fall in line with most on this, and I agree with you on his play, but he's kind of fortunate right now. You know what I mean? Like there aren't an overwhelming number of bodies he's competing with. So you could do worse with him as your 8th D lineman, I suppose. Gun to my head, is he on the 53? Yeah, I'd probably, unless some couple guys show up and go nuts and play great this August, I just don't see how he doesn't make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got some Stevens hating here too. Again, which is fine. I would just say if they can get him to play the ball well, you guys are going to be surprised. And like really look at the contract. What, $12 million a year? $12 million a year for a lower end corner too really isn't that crazy, specifically when he fits the role of right cornerback, specifically when he fits the role of, okay, a bigger corner. But if they have faith in their coaching and with the corners, with the safeties, I'm going to kind of like be like, hey, up to the coaching staff, that's their guys, or those are their guys, because that's what they specialize in. But if you could fix him playing the ball, he's going to be a good player. Like he's always there. It's just about finding it, So
yeah.
He's another guy I get. Like I don't think he's some bum, terrible signing. Now
no.
if I could go back in time and I knew that we were going to draft AZ Thomas in a retool it type of year where I sign Stevens or allocate that money elsewhere and then have AZ Thomas, start probably.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't live in that world. Like I don't think Stevens is some bum though.
I agreed. Like, it has the potential to be a quality signing. You needed an outside corner in free agency. You couldn't go without one. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
There's no world. You had to grab one, and they grabbed one who fit. And that's been the theme. Guys who fit exactly what they want to do. Hopefully they don't go too crazy with that, because I think one of Salah's greatest problems was exactly that. But that it was on an entirely different level. So that's unfair to compare. But yeah, they had to grab him. So I'm completely cool with it. And listen, Sauce, him, Stiggers, AZ. Who else? I mean, I know JBC, I guess. There's not much
have MC2, but if you're just considering him slot, then you don't consider him a corner.
Outside, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's those three. And then I just want to clarify, I'm not super high on Noddy. I'm really not. I just I think he's a backup level run stuffer. That's what I think he is. And I think he may be cast into a role, one role above what he's supposed to be. Like he's a good backup, not a starter level player. So I just don't twist that a little bit.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Listen, D-line, they're sneaky not well right now. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Danger Zone says, can we get more of you too? Maybe monthly. I think we planned on monthly last year, and then it went for a month or two, and then we just dropped off. But yeah, maybe that's on Sabo. That's on. If Sabo can commit to once a month, then here we are.
It's all my fault. Well, I shouldn't put it on me. It's all the owning and operating of Knicks X Factor and Jets X Factor's fault. That's all it is. But right now, hey, dude, I'm feeling pretty good about where we are. So.
Until we get dropped off of Google News or something like that. You're back there for 2 weeks.
It's a battle, man. I'm in the trenches, or I was in the trenches. Now I'm feeling a little better. But hey, last year we redesigned JetX, completely new look, new theme, created Knicks X Factor, created all the pages where those are automatic with stats and info. All the heavy work's done, and getting it all done before 2025 was the goal, and we're ready to roll.
Good question for you here, specifically for you, because you've been at camp. But are we glossing over Membu, or has he only been okay hearing about Taylor, Thomas, and Smith more?
Nah, don't even consider Membu right now in terms of OTAs.
The thing about it is, one, they're not wearing pads, and it's going to be 10 times more difficult for Robby to notice offensive lineman, defensive. That's the position you specifically need the all-22 to see what these guys are doing, because you have no idea with the concept, what they're supposed to be doing. There's so many things involved with the offense and defensive line. You can't just be like, oh, well, he moved this guy, great play. It's not that simple, because it's one, you're on the field level, right? Unless you're in the,
we're up top.
You're up top outside?
Yes. And
on the bleachers?
No, we're on top of the building, the actual facility building. There's a little perch there.
Oh, and okay. They changed that then.
That's a better view. You'd think it's a better view, right? But it's very far away. First of all, when they're running teams, there's ones versus ones, or ones versus there's multiple things happening. And then number two, when someone's reporting, oh, Weaver got a sack, guess what? Their eyes weren't on Weaver the entire time. They're looking at the play downfield, and then they just see that Weaver's in the backfield. Yeah. So not only do you need the all-22 to go over the trench play, but you have to decide to ignore everything else and just hone in on that for one play. Don't worry about Membo.
The thing I will say is, do not believe a lot of trench talk you hear from OTAs. I don't. And even if it is Robby, I'll probably believe Robby more than other people. But even Robby, I'll be questioned Robby, what do you see in my guy? Because it's
agreed.
Dude, it's so hard. It is
agreed.
So hard.
It's impossible. And
running backs too. It's oh, this running back looks great. I've seen so many running backs look great in OTAs, and even with pads, sometimes running backs look great.
So many people have asked me about Donovan Edwards, and the only thing I say is, he's getting handoffs. He's in the mix as the top four, the fourth guy. He's getting handoffs. I don't know what else to say. Does he have a chance? I mean, maybe. I would doubt against it if the top three are healthy. But if you look at my tweets and all that stuff, I tend to stay away from the trench play, because there's not much to say, honestly.
Yeah, no, unless they really, really, unless it's really, really good or really, really bad.
A guy shooting the gap for a 2-yard loss, obvious, where he doesn't wrap up. Yeah, let's call that out for sure.
Sluggo, I was streaming every 2 or 3 weeks. I'm gonna try to do it at least every other week now. And during the season and stuff, obviously, or even closer into the off season, I'll do once a week again. Problem is, kid moving and then trying to do 30, I think I did 35 film reviews, which can go anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours.
Blaming the kid already. Look at you.
Jeez. No, it's 100% true. He takes up a lot of my time. I don't want to be up at 6 a.m. after getting home at 2, but it happens. So
blaming the kid.
JFM trade destroyed our defense last year. Yeah, I would say getting rid of JFM and bringing in Kinlaw for the same amount of money was one of Joe Douglas's biggest blunders.
I don't even know if I could put it on Joe, honestly, like, because once, ownership stepped in and fired Hogan, I don't know who was who and who did what and what happened. But yeah, if you're going to assume Joe and GM, for sure, massive blunder.
What do you think about the Jets? You're trying to talk about their need on edge before. A lot of people are talking about like receiver, tight end, and stuff like that. But do you think it's a possibility they sign a Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, one of these type of guys? Now, I would probably say, like, in a situation where the Jets were closer to being a legitimate playoff team, then yeah, like bringing in an old guy to help fill some holes. But at this point in their life cycle, give the time to the young guys, give it to Watts and Barron, and see how they play. Like the Jets also, they don't have to just evaluate the starters. They have to evaluate the backups too. Like the Muji and Glenn have a lot to learn about this roster. So I think that's why they didn't go crazy in free agency and all this stuff. Like they already had, I think, the least amount of like players returning from their team last year in the NFL. So the Jets, like, you have to give them time to learn their team as well. Glenn, like not even from the backups, not even from, Jake Hanson's of the world, but like they have to learn Sauce and Garrett and all of these guys too. Like there's a lot of moving parts right now. So I don't think they're going to bring in a vet, to be honest.
I would agree. Man, I don't think it's something where they're totally against it either. But right now, what's the point? In June, like if you get into August and a guy's available and it's just for 1 year and it won't hurt your cap at all the following year, and you really need it, someone went down. Okay, sure. Like I think it's to that level. They're not totally against it, but there's no point in actively trying to go after someone right now.
Tony Alexio reminds you guys, double the like for this great show. I don't know if you can actually do that, but yeah, if you can, sure, throw 2 likes as I continue. Braylon Allen, 92 carries last year was a travesty. So in terms of Breece, you kind of mentioned it. You do think, like, okay, so again, a lot of guns to your head this episode, but if you had to guess the running back carries, like by percentages, what do you think it would be? Hard question off the top of your head. It is. I get that. I know I'm putting you on the spot right here, so I'm kind of stalling to even let you think about it.
I'm excited to answer this one.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think it would be if you had to guess?
I would say 40. Let me get the math right. 40%, 35%, 25%. Breece, Braylon, Isaiah.
Now, a perfect question. Who said he's enjoying the discussion? Pop culture. How many carries do you think Justin Fields gets? Like, it's hard to say how many carries he gets. Right?
I wouldn't be stunned if all 4 of them get a lot of play and none of them get to 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
and yet they're one of the best rushing teams in the league.
I think carries is hard, but I see Fields being between like 600 and 700 yards probably rushing with maybe 5-6 touchdowns. That's kind of where
has Chicago struck you as a great rushing team at all in the past decade?
Oh no, definitely. Obviously not.
They were second in rushing 2 years ago with Fields as quarterback, second in the league.
Yeah, let's see how many rushing yards he gets per year. Justin Fields. So I'm not even honestly privy to what he's usually getting.
No, he's 900. I think he had 900 to 1 year. Did he go over 1,000 1 year? Let me see.
How do you? Of course, it's if you could find that. No, I think so. Rushing, it looks like he was at. No, something crazy. No, these are sacks. Yeah, I don't know if you could find that while I'm kind of bringing up the chat, because I don't. It's not coming up for me. Or I just clicked on the wrong.
So his rookie year, 12 games, 10 started, 72 for 420 and 2 touchdowns. That's 5.8. Next year, 15 games, all started, 1143, so over 1,000, 8 touchdowns, 7.1, which led the league for all quarterbacks. Well, all runners, really, for qualified runners, because he had 160 attempts. And then his last year in Chicago, 657 yards on 124 attempts. So he eclipsed 1,000.
Okay.
That second year.
Yeah, no, I think he'll be heavily involved too, because like it's not like it's not a well, actually for him it is a superpower. Like, why not take advantage of it? You know, figure out what he is with the Jets, make him comfortable, get him a few rushes, get his confidence going, get him involved in the passing game more. Like you got to take advantage of it.
Consider him a running back with Breece, Braylon, and Isaiah. I would be shocked if that's not how they play it. Like, I think that is their exact attention. He's going to have. And this is where I might feel bad for Isaiah, because Fields is basically the third running back. But he's going to get, there's going to be a handful of QB design rushes every play for sure, at least.
Yeah. And I appreciate the super chat here. Danger zone, Braylon and our interior offensive line should form a formidable spear. Allen was good on short yardage situations just because he always falls forward. And in terms of the running back position too, it's interesting because a lot of people are talking about Edwards as the running back 4, but I don't know if people are forgetting about what's his name, like Kene Ngwanu or whatever.
Ngakoue.
Whatever his name was.
Yeah.
He was a Pro Bowl returner for a few years.
Yep.
He played a few games for the Jets, but had a kickoff return touchdown versus the Jags. Was it the Jags team? I forget what game it was.
I think it was the Jags.
Maybe a different one, but nonetheless, somewhere later in the season. So I think he's running back 4. So running back 5, like, are they really going to carry Edwards? I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's one of those things where in Ngakoue, he's a running back, but you kind of just got to look at him as a returner. And I think his only chance is if they don't like what they see from Aryan Smith this summer, I think. Do they put Aryan at kick return is a question. The old days, I would say no, because kick return is much more violent. You'd rather have a running back. But this new setup, it's possible. You know, it's more like a punt. So I could see him do both. We'll see. And then Gibson also, obviously, is his fate will be largely dependent upon how they feel about Aryan in the kick return game.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm like reading in the chat as you're talking about this. I saw one good comment, like, high quality football talk here, subscribe. And I just see comments after Dakota. And then you see Danger Zone. He's like, he's burying Joe, which is true. A lot of comments here.
He's doing funny. What to Joe? What do you say? Oh, burying Joe.
I guess just with comments. Which is fine, obviously.
Keep it up. I'm sick of hearing this dude talk. Just keep him busy, please.
I'm trying to scroll through the chat. We're gonna wrap up here in just a few minutes. I usually do 2 hours, so we'll wrap up in a little bit. I said the super chat 35 minutes ago. I'm sorry. I'm always catching up, running through. We're almost at the end now. Sabo and Wayne, you guys had a podcast recently, right? Anything else? Any like that you want to promote with Wayne while I continue to scroll through the chat?
Nah, I'm probably gonna get it up on the site today, so everyone can have access to the video a little bit easier. But it's on YouTube. It's on our channel for YouTube. What did we talk about? Wayne. I always try to get old stories out of Wayne. Like, that's the gold. That's what the fans want to hear. Like, anything from back in the day. And there was something that came up, but I forgot. Damn, it'll come to me. I forgot what it was. We talked about Hackett. He was not a fan of Hackett, man. Like, all the fans were not a fan of Hackett. But when you look back at it now, he kind of ran the perfect offense for Pennington, who was limited, couldn't hit the sideline, intermediate, a lot of middle of the field stuff. So I think that's how it came up with the one read stuff Engstrand and Glenn are trying to implement with Fields. Kind of similar to Hackett and Pennington back in the day. And then him, Moss, and Coles being the trio. Check it out. Pretty good.
Yeah, I was just looking at a video of, I think it was Stephon Diggs, who, I don't know if you saw the whole Stephon Diggs saga over the last weekend. Did you not?
I heard his name in the news, but I have no idea what happened.
Basically, he gets a group of, we will call them nice young ladies who are wearing a shoestring as their underwear on a yacht.
Who
gets them all to call him daddy, and then is handing or showing them all his cocaine. So quite the interesting week for Stephon Diggs.
That's how he runs those comeback routes so energetically. Genius.
He's back at practice, and I think Todd Downing is their receivers coach right now, talking about old Jets coaches. So at least Todd Downing is employed. I don't know. Somebody asked about Keith Carter and Hackett. I don't think either of them are employed right now. Neither is Rodgers, which like, is he going to wait? Do you think at this point, is he going to the Steelers, or is it over at this point?
I think he's a Steeler.
I know,
but listen, I'm just assuming. I have no idea.
Like, so he's definitely self-involved, no doubt. Like, I don't blame him for some of his political opinions, some of the vaccine stuff. Like, there's some stuff I see eye to eye on.
He brings a lot. He brings a lot of it on himself. No question.
No, he does. But the thing is, like, at the minimum with the Jets, he was dedicated, right? Like, people will talk about, him going to Egypt, all this crap, whatever. But like, he made like 10 out of the 12 voluntary days, and then misses like a voluntary day or two or whatever because of Egypt, and people kill him. So like, I thought he was at the minimum. He was bought in, right?
He was 100% bought in. That narrative was silly.
Yeah,
but again, he brought it on himself. Like, the two most important ones you're gonna miss are those. Like, the shitstorm's coming, man. But listen, from an objective standpoint, he was 100% bought in, 100%.
That's the thing, though, with the Steelers.
By the way,
Carter, if he's going to give it one more year, why not be there the entire time? Like, what does he look like?
That's the interesting thing. I don't know. That's the interesting thing. I don't know. For all we know, it's already done. It's already done, and both sides know it's done. There might be a reason that we're not thinking of. I don't know. It's a good question. By the way, Carter did get a job.
Yeah, I see it. MM7 with the Vikings.
Wow.
Nepotism to the fine. I don't know if there's any nepotism there, but friends, like, who is so big in the NFL, because he's a guy I don't think should really have, like, I don't want to go after guys' jobs. And obviously me saying this on this podcast is not going to do anything, but like, what are we doing with Keith Carter?
It was rough.
Mm-hmm. It was rough. Yeah, Joe Douglas with the Eagles. All right, so we're to the end of the chat, so I'll wrap it up here. It's been about 2 hours. So Robbie, anything you want to promote? Do you have any film coming out? Any or are you just going to be doing strictly website stuff from the Batcave?
I'll probably get Who's Standing Out at OTAs, led by AZ, hopefully out today. But I gotta talk about this Tib stuff more too. I mean, it's driving me nuts. But
yeah, Knicks X Factor, obviously. Check out the Underdog Jets podcast, Jets X Factor. Ton of stuff from Faria, ton of stuff from Nania.
All that good stuff. Yep.
I think I have a review coming out every other day right now, or every 3 days for probably the next 2 months. Like, you have 30 something reviews from me. I think about 10 have come out. So you have all the free agents coming, anywhere from Sauce and Garrett Wilson to Isaiah Davis and Eric Watts. Like, we're getting pretty deep into the Jets roster. I'll be back in 2 weeks from now. I'll do every other week for now. I'll try to get, I know Dana was asking about it. I'll try to get Sabo on, maybe not once a month. Maybe you can't commit to that, but
no. We could do once
more often. More often we'll get Sabo, we'll get Nania.
Forget the rigidness. Let's just say this. I want to be on as much as possible. Let's do that.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll have a top 25 show coming. We'll have a comparing the Jets to their AFC East foes as well. I appreciate the new subscriber who was in here. I'm trying to scroll up and find them, and I forget. Pop Culture Playbook. We appreciate you for being in here. We appreciate you subscribing as well, and we will be back in 2 weeks.